Okay, let's dive straight into this explainer by completely rethinking basically everything we thought we knew about the ancient world's greatest architectural puzzle. For thousands of years, researchers, architects, and historians have endlessly debated exactly how the Great Pyramid of Giza was actually constructed. But what if we've been looking at the problem completely upside down? Today, we're going to explore a really groundbreaking paradigm shift, one that relies heavily on hard, physical evidence to decode the secrets of the sands.
It's a pretty fascinating question, right? We've literally spent centuries digging around for vanished tools, searching for traces of massive ramps, and theorizing about lost ancient technologies. But rather than looking for things that aren't there, we might just be completely misinterpreting the physical evidence sitting right in front of us. To really grasp this new perspective, we first have to ground ourselves in the sheer unbelievable reality of what we're actually looking at.
Section 1. The Ancient Architectural Impossible.
To understand why this mystery has endured for so long, we really have to appreciate the impossible scale of the Great Pyramid. 146, that is its towering height in meters. It wasn't a first attempt either. It represents the endpoint of a massive, multi-generational architectural learning curve. Every pyramid built before this one took around 10 to 15 years, with each generation learning, adapting, and inching closer to this ultimate 146-meter masterpiece.
And then there's the sheer volume. 2.3 million. That is the staggering number of stone blocks required to build this monument. And it's not like they just stacked them up haphazardly. They were set to form a base that is almost perfectly square, off by just mere centimeters across its entire immense footprint. It's honestly mind-blowing.
Oh, and beautifully, it is aligned to true north off by just 1/15 of a degree. Just think about that for a second. They achieved this astonishing geographic precision without compasses, without lasers, and certainly without GPS. They relied entirely on the stars and an incredibly deep understanding of their natural environment. Which brings us to one of the absolute most frustrating paradoxes in all of archaeology. We literally have a 4,500-year-old site manager's logbook from a guy named Mir. The Egyptians tracked everything meticulously. We have records of their payroll, their diets, the limestone deliveries, which proves they had incredible stability and highly skilled labor, not slaves. Yet they left absolutely zero construction drawings behind. It's almost as if they purposefully hid the blueprints just to mess with future generations.
Section 2. The Great Ramp de Lennar.
So, without those handy instructions, modern minds tried to reverse engineer the process, and that led to two prevailing ramp theories, both of which have some pretty fatal physical flaws. On one side, we have the external ramp theory. To maintain a slope you could actually walk up, this ramp would need to be 2 kilometers long. That means it would cost more materials to build the ramp than the pyramid itself. Plus, there is zero archaeological debris left behind to prove it. On the other side, we have the internal spiral ramp theory. Famously inspired by someone seeing a fox running through the pyramid, it sounds elegant, sure, but an internal ramp fundamentally obscures the crucial corners of the pyramid, totally destroying your turning radius and your ability to accurately measure the structure.
The absolute crux of the issue here is what architects call the apex problem. The sharp apex is literally the rarest and hardest part of a pyramid to build. Because of the sheer geometry involved, a tiny little millimeter error down at the wide base explodes into a massive, totally unfixable deviation by the time you reach the top. Your edges must remain perfectly straight to meet properly, so you absolutely need wide, stable, continuous visual access to all 4 faces to check those edges at the very top. And neither the giant external ramp nor the hidden internal ramp convincingly allows for that.
Section 3. Muon scans reveal empty voids.
To test these ramp theories without, taking a giant wrecking ball to a World Heritage Site, researchers in 2015 turned to a high-tech technique called muon tomography. Think of it like a giant, non-invasive medical CT scan, but for pyramids. Muons are these high-energy particles from space that are constantly raining down on Earth. They pass right through rock, but denser areas slow them down. By placing detectors all around the pyramid, scientists were able to map out the internal density in stunning 3D.
And the results from those 2015 scans, completely explosive. They found a massive, totally unexplained void hovering right above the Grand Gallery. But honestly, just as importantly, look at what they didn't find. They found absolutely no trace of a clean, continuous internal spiral ramp. If a kilometer-long ramp was hiding just underneath the surface, these muons definitely would have caught it. The total absence of a continuous spiral void strongly weakens the internal ramp argument, forcing us to look for a better explanation grounded in physical reality.
Section 4. The Unbuilt Pyramid Theory. Faced with that daunting apex problem and the newly revealed muon data, an independent researcher named Huni Choi spent a full decade mapping the Giza Plateau in 3D, and he proposed a radical idea. He suggests the pyramids weren't actually built upward as pyramids at all. Instead, they were essentially unbuilt from a much larger mass. He argues that they relied on a whole chain of sacrificial structures that were designed right from the start to be cannibalized.
Let's walk through this process, because it brilliantly illustrates how ancient engineering might have actually functioned in the real world. Step 1. They shaved the natural limestone hills down into a terraced platform. Step 2. Instead of building a pointy pyramid, they overbuild a massive, wide, trapezoidal step mass with ramps seamlessly integrated into it. Step 3. Once they finally reach the top, they carve downward from the flat top into that precise iconic pyramid shape. And Step 4. They recycle all that excess carved stone for the next phase. By working downward from a wide, flat deck, you completely solve the apex problem, because you have full visibility of all 4 edges the entire time you're shaping it.
And the coolest part is the mathematics of the volume work out perfectly. Choi estimates an initial step mass of about 8 million tons. The final Great Pyramid we see today is roughly 6 million tons. That leaves about 2 million tons of stone that was shaved right off. Instead of just tossing it aside, this stone was completely recycled into the annex buildings and the next pyramid in the sequence, driving an incredibly efficient closed-loop construction engine across the entire Giza Plateau.
Section 5, Bonding Stones, Stitch the Truth.
Now we have to test this unbuilt theory against the physical evidence. And this is exactly where our focus really pays off, by comparing our high-tech macro evidence with some easily overlooked micro-architectural clues. On the macro level, the 2015 muon scans effectively dismissed the internal spiral ramp theory by showing no continuous void. On the micro level, we can look at the masonry itself, specifically what we call bonding stones. When we put these two pieces of hard physical evidence side by side, the high-tech muon data and the microscopic masonry details completely point away from traditional ramps and point squarely toward Huni Choi's concept of wide, flat working decks.
Let's look a little closer at these bonding stones. A really dedicated researcher known as History for Granite actually cataloged over 6,000 surviving casing stones, and he found these tiny, tapered king stones that basically form vertical seams. What this tells us is that different sections were laid simultaneously by different crews and then meticulously stitched together. But here's the kicker. Identical patterns exist on all surviving faces of the pyramid. This physical reality absolutely proves there was no single giant external ramp blocking one whole face of the pyramid. You can only get this highly symmetrical stitching pattern if crews were working from a wide, unobstructed deck surrounding a clean core, which is exactly what the unbuilt trapezoid theory proposes.
So you might be wondering, where did the giant trapezoid go? Well, the missing ramps and sacrificial structures were simply dismantled and repurposed. This aligns perfectly with the well-documented ancient Egyptian habit of recycling materials. They took immense spiritual pride in restoring a sacred site to absolute purity, leaving behind a pristine, divine form with absolutely zero trace of the human engineering that created it. The absence of evidence is actually a purposeful architectural detail.
Section 6. Embracing the unsolved mystery. Even with this incredibly compelling physical evidence, perfectly aligning the macro-muon scans and the micro-masonry details, we still have to confront our own human psychology. Our brains really hate gaps in information. We desperately want absolute, undeniable mathematical proof. But in an archaeological setting where the entire construction phase is essentially missing and no live experiments can be run, absolute proof is a luxury we just don't have. Sometimes we have to accept that the mystery itself is part of the majesty. And let's just leave it right there for today. In our hyper-connected modern world, where we can instantly search for almost anything on our phones, the Great Pyramid remains one of the last great, monumental marvels we simply cannot force into perfect clarity. Whether it was built up or unbuilt down, it stands as an ultimate testament to human ingenuity. So, what do you think the stones are really telling us? I hope this explainer sparked your curiosity, and I absolutely cannot wait to dive into our next fascinating topic with you.